Good morning. It is Thursday morning, which means it is Coffee Chats. Ben, excited to have you here.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to do this. Is a fun stream. We're going to get into a lot of things, but just some house cleaning items before we get started. As always, this is a normal Coffee Chat, so I'm just going to be interviewing Ben Bada here from Lemhi. We'll be talking a little bit about what we've been up to over the last 3 or 4 months. But the same rules apply to him that apply to everybody. We're going to go through the same segments. That means please ask questions, please ask or drop comments. This is a lot more enjoyable when people tune in and have fun with us. If you're out in the audience, do me a favor. Please drop a note and tell us where you're dialing in from, and ask Ben some really hard questions. Like some haymakers. I want some good ones today to throw him off his game. I normally wouldn't do that to a guest, but I've worked with Ben for 15 years, so I think I can give him a little bit.
Man, give me a hard time. I'm ready for him.
I know.
I'm ready to participate.
I know you could do it. That's why I asked the audience to jump in. So again, if you're here, say hello. Would love to see you in chat. Okay. Very simple to get started here, Ben. I always like to get to know the person on the other side. So I don't want your elevator pitch. I don't want your 30 seconds. I've done this. Give me your like 3 to 5 minute story. Tell me about your, like, who you are, what you are, and a little bit more personal about yourself.
Sure. I'm out here in Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. It's an area where I ultimately relate a lot of my own personality to the city I'm from, right? So high level, like blue collar family, but I grew up in MSP. John and I have met, I don't know, probably 15 plus years ago. Back in the day, I was a college intern at the time at our MSP, but working in the help desk. That's kind of a little bit more of my my career journey. Just about me personally. So I've always held a kind of a problem solving type of role in the organizations that I'm in. I like to think that I can do a lot of different types of things halfway well, but ultimately it all comes down to solving problems and choosing the right problems to solve. That's the seat I sit in here at Lemhi, just from a product management perspective. And of course, at a startup, there's no shortage of chaotic problems to jump into and solve every day. Just a little bit about me, like personally, diehard Pittsburgh sports fan, as we all are out here in Western Pennsylvania. I have a little daughter. She just turned 3 here a little bit ago. Takes up all of my time, and starting a new new company here with John, which is going to be kind of like my second kid here for a while. So that's a little bit about me.
Look at our marketing guy, just fishing for a compliment. They are very nice shirts. I'll give you the shout out.
And we separated. I got the long sleeve. You got the hoodie.
This is all I'm gonna wear. All I wear is hoodies anyway. It's like 82 degrees here in Indianapolis today, and I'm out there in a hoodie.
Yep. The brand, man. For the brand.
They are brand. I think our backup plan is in a retail store because people keep wanting the hoodie. Like the hoodie is a hot commodity. No pun intended there. But like they're getting a little bit of traction. Maybe at Backstage Beyond, you could come to our booth and beg, ask us for a hoodie, and we might figure it out for you.
Yep. We got to get some intros. There's got to be an MSP out there that serves some fashion brands or something that we can get our name in front of.
I think we're fashion brands a great backup plan. Let's get into some of your background. Though you said startups is in your DNA. I know these answers, but I'm curious to get your team. Maybe I don't know these answers.
Not knowing as well as you thought.
Yeah, I know. Why another one? Like what inspired you to do another startup? This is what round up? Well, I'll let you answer that. And what round for you is it again?
This will be technically, I think it's round 4 for me.
Yeah.
Back to our MSPs, I like, you're pretty early in that business, so I would consider that a startup too. Colin called out the hoodies too. That's right, man.
It is.
We got to get the online store going.
See, look, I'm telling you, we got to get the store going. Brett, I think I can find you a hoodie. Sorry, I'll stop popping up stuff if people saying it, Ben. Go ahead. Why another startup?
Why another startup? Well, and so I think for me, you know, being able to actually be hands-on and make an impact in the people that we work with, right? I think is really important to me. You can do that at a bigger company. It takes a long time, right? And sometimes you get to roll the ball uphill, and you can't get as deep in as yourself. And I'm a doer by nature, and like I said, a problem solver by nature. So I think that's part of it. If I go back to our space, like my history. I've had all types of outcomes, right? Positive outcomes for me personally, positive outcomes from the business. They all looked a little bit different, right? So for me, like being able to take another try at it and ultimately put myself in a position to be able to own something start to finish, right, is really important to me. Which is kind of what I'm signing up for the very far foreseeable future as we start this new business. Certainly,
I hope.
Yeah, yeah, let's hope. So that's part of it. Obviously, like the other thing would just be working with good people. Like I'm super happy and super proud of the team that we put together here at Lemhi. That's not a startup thing, but it's part of it, right? Because you want to enjoy the people that you work with, and you can. In the daily chaos of what a startup looks like, it makes everything downhill and makes things easier. All right, so that's probably the other bullet point I'd probably put on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I stated it earlier on Tuesday. I said it's just the people that make me excited. I don't care what problem we end up solving. We just have a phenomenal group of people that we've aggregated here. Yourself being one of them, and many other people that maybe we'll get the opportunity to shine some time on the show here as we grow. Let's talk about building a thesis and like building a problem from zero, right? Like we're now 4 months in. So this is like basically brand new, right? Like basically brand new. I think 4 months in 5 years ago is way different than 4 months in an AI era. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that thesis storming and forming and norming. Like what were some of your learning moments? We evaluated lots of things. We all ultimately landed on one, but like, give me a little bit of that process. Give some insight into it.
Yeah, of course.
And real quick, we didn't do a great job here. Like, what is your role and like what is it that you do here so that it maybe frames the
that helps. That helps. Well, and it does change day to day. Ultimately, I'm kind of our head of ops, I'll say. Right. And the things that I think fall under that are, a lot of things around the structure of the business, but also primarily the product, right. Having that deep understanding of, how do we put the right people in the right seats and start solving the right problem is ultimately kind of what I live in day to day. So yeah, maybe that frames the answer a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, for me, 4 months into this, I think it's been a heck of a lot of fun, and I know there's a lot of shout outs to a lot of different folks out there in the space that you've had conversation with, that I've had conversations with, just talking about in particular like how they are. The trends they're seeing around AI, how their customers are using them, how that story goes, what that narrative is that they're trying to bring to their customers, maybe what they're doing today, right? There's so many deep conversations there, not only about the kind of what the space is doing, but how individual businesses are starting to solve those problems that I think have really informed a little bit of our thesis here at Lemhi in terms of the product that we're building and how we're ultimately executing. So that's part of it. I think you mentioned the process here too, and you mentioned like it's a very different world in 4 months with how fast we can go with AI. For anybody that's trying to tackle something that's big and nebulous and has lots and lots of data, for us that data came in the form of lots of different industry reports, lots of different conversations we're having with like analysts, lots of different interviews that we're doing with MSPs, right? Trying to take all that structured data, all those different transcripts and all the different trends and all my individual notes from having all these conversations and putting it into something John and I both called the hive mind, which is all about this space, all about the problem, all about the individual people and how we're ultimately solving problems around AI for their SMBs. And then just riffing, just asking questions, just trying to find the right angle to the problem that we can really build around and then we can scale around. And we haven't talked a ton about what Lemhi is at this point, and I know you've kind of framed it in a couple of conversations previously, but that's a little bit about the process, a little bit about the tools, and for anybody that's trying to work through kind of a big nebulous problem like that, things like Notebook LM or Copilot with dumping everything to a SharePoint drive, it's a game changer nowadays and helps you go a whole heck of a lot faster. So
no, we'll get there. We got 45 minutes. We got
plenty of time.
I'll get into like the behind the scenes. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We did a lot of synthesizing, and of course, I was part of that process with you. And I had a lot of aha moments. There were a lot of, I don't know how to explain it, but like a core memory where something just clicks and the way you think about a problem dramatically changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe you were open to sharing maybe one or two of those things where you had those core moments that click, some assumptions that you thought were wrong, maybe some aha moments that changed the way you considered how we're building or thinking at Lemhi. And so that's the first question. Let me just ask that question. I'll make it easy. I'll let you do that one first.
So I think a big one, I don't think this will surprise any of the kind of MSP operator folks on the call. For me, as I'm looking at trying to solve problems around AI holistically, me as like a technical person, I have a deep innate desire to like learn about the tools, learn about the process, kind of learn about how others are solving this problem with technology. And I think one of the big ahas for me is that we talk about MSPs and AI, like it's as much of a people problem as it is a technology problem. You could probably say that about a lot, but I think it's even more important with AI because of kind of two reasons. One, you have this like deep social pressure to move and to do something with AI, right? And that's not only for our MSPs, that's for the businesses they support as well. You have, those social groups, or you heard a buddy on the golf course talking about all the cool stuff they were doing with AI. So there's a very interesting kind of person angle, people angle to that from a social perspective. And then the other one is, day-to-day employees, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a hot take, spicy Thursday or whatever the phrase is here.
I'm in.
But a lot of employees are at this stage where it's also a people problem because of some of the perception around AI, especially in relation to like, hey, is it going to take my job? And those are hard conversations to have. They don't touch the technology, but man, they sure are important to getting to success, if that makes sense. So that's one, like that people aspect being such a big part of what we're trying to achieve here, I think is really, really core to it.
Well, and that's an interesting problem that's continued to move, honestly, in a southward direction as we begin to launch, right? Like public appeal for AI starting to nosedive as data centers grow. And it's an important thing. But what I think is critical, and even more critical now as that perception continues to change, is framing and positioning and approach. Like coming in and I'm going to go build an agentic automation that automates this entire part of your business is probably not the right thing to do if you have consideration for that problem. That is the scariest thing you might do, is start with an automation versus thinking about the downstream organization and how you might get them baselined. In an empathetic world, imagine just you're sitting there and these consultants come in and the first thing they do is automate part of your job. They didn't consider you. They didn't do anything for you. And they just said, hey, Ben, I love I know you love this part of the job, but it's easy to automate. It's high value, low effort, boom, gone. Go figure out some more work to do. We're going to reallocate your hours here. That versus, hey, Ben, tell me what you care about. Tell me what you like to do. Tell me how I can make you better. Tell me how we can give you 9 hours back in your life so that you can spend more time with your baby girl you mentioned earlier on the show. Like, it's the same outcome. It's just different framing. So that is one of my big ahas, is that we as an industry just have to get better at framing and positioning the problem. And it's the same answer at the end of the day, but it's a different narrative. Thank you, Brett, for the call out. Love that one here.
There's an interesting our head of success here at Lemhi, Mark mentioned the other day this mindset around scarcity versus abundance. Right. And I think that's a really great way of framing it. You know, when we think about abundance in your example, right, like abundance of time that you can spend on things other than work ultimately. But also we're definitely seeing it, especially in like, government types of business or government organizations and similar, where it's like, hey, we want to keep the people that we have, and it's not about keeping the people that you have, it's about enabling them to do more, right? How do we if we have 100 employees and say we're going to automate 30 of them out of their job, why don't we look at it from the perspective of let's take those 100 employees and try to put them in a situation where they can do the work of 500 or 1,000, right? If that makes sense. And I think that's really core to like the kind of the framing of the conversation, to your point in relation to like how MSPs are starting to have some of those conversations. And then ultimately in my product brain, it's like, all right, how do we automating people is a challenge. Automating those conversations is a challenge, is the way I should say it. So, how do we facilitate the right things? And we've started to do some of that with like, our frameworks and other things we're working through. So, yeah,
like it. We get a couple comments here. Colin jumping in. At a B2B level, the tech will continue to grow, but the framing will change. I think it will have to change. With the layoffs being the leading narrative across every news article and everybody's face. If we don't change that narrative, then we're going to have a real problem here in the next couple of years during these adoption streams, because there's real public resistance coming in. And the thing is, like, when organizations go through a healthy transformation, the frontier firms, as Microsoft terms it, they call it absorption. They don't even call it adoption. Absorption being this term where you deeply change the way that you work as a result of AI augmenting the things that you do. The companies that absorb are not in this like scarcity state. They're in this abundance state, and to your point. And so I love that framing positioning. And maybe Brett didn't frame this as a question, but a great segue into another question. Like MSPs need the help wrapping their hands around AI. Then they need to teach their clients how to do it safely. So I know one of our criteria specifically when we're looking at design partners, we want them to have gone through internal transformation first. Like, what are you seeing out there in this space, just to kind of not benchmark, but like if you're an MSP today and you haven't really began AI, like where do you put them in a plot chart in the space, like even internally?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, we're living in a world now. So if that question's from like an MSP perspective, right? If you're doing some type of AI internally or some automation, like you're probably 2 years behind at this point. And we're always a year as MSPs, we're always a year and a half or 2 years ahead of kind of how our customers' adoption is. So I think to respond directly to kind of what Brent mentioned, like helping to wrap their hands around AI in particular, it's all about trying to frame the vision of like the realm of possible. How much can it actually do? What can it do? I think is more important than what can it do, right? And then of course, being an advisor to every MSP, being an advisor to every SMB that we're working with, like trying to understand what are the risks, and those risks are different based on the industry. Hey, I don't want my patient data landing in an LLM, right? Is a very important conversation to have. But wrapping your head around it or wrapping your hands around it safely, I think is a really good and important point. And some tactical things I think that you can do to kind of start that. You mentioned kind of the absorption, right? The Microsoft model. There's another study out there from OpenRouter that I really like. It's called the glass slipper effect, which is basically if you find the glass slipper, you put it on, it's never going to come off again. So those people that we want to adopt AI inside of our businesses, or even inside of our clients, inside our MSP too, we just have to find that one key use case that puts them in a situation where that light bulb goes off in their head of, man, this is going to change a lot for me, and it's going to help me move a lot faster and make things a lot easier. And for everybody works differently, right? And having that insight is going to be really important to be able to say, hey, this is the one use case that we should start with. And every individual is oftentimes different too. So there's a couple tidbits in there in terms of just kind of, I think it's important for any transformation kind of initiative, but just start number one, and then try to deal with folks on that individual level, because AI is becoming so close to how we work on a day-to-day basis, if that makes sense.
I love it. I'm gonna transition us. I think it's a good spot here at the 20-minute mark. And Bobby gave us just a wide opening to do it. You know, do you want to do the Lemhi story, or do you want me to do the Lemhi
Oh
story?
man, I won't do it justice, but I will supplement though as you go through it.
All right. So, Bobby, it's a fantastic call out. Lemhi, yes, Idaho. Good call out. Only very few people actually know the origin of it, so it's a good opportunity to share it. You know, as Lewis and Clark began their traversal across the continental U.S. to go towards what we ultimately now know as California, they were handed maps by the authority at the time that said, "Hey, like follow the rivers west." And I actually learned this new tidbit from Tim, so I hope you're listening in. They apparently carried these massive, heavy boats because their assumption was literally that they were going to just jump on these boats once they got to the rivers and ride it all the way west. So they carried these huge iron boats because they just assumed that was the path forward. And that was a huge undertaking for this small expedition. Well, they ultimately got to a position, a spot, as Bobby calls out effectively here in Idaho, called Lemhi Pass. And Lemhi Pass precedes the Bitterroot Mountains. And the Bitterroot Mountain Range is not just one mountain, it's a series of many, many, many mountains in front of them. And it has become adamantly clear for Lewis and Clark while standing in Lemhi Pass that these boats that they thought they were going to float all the way over to California are not going to get them there. And, you know, we realize at that point in Lewis and Clark's journey, they have a decision. They either have to move forward and chart a new path, and the boats that they brought and they carried all the way to Lemhi Pass aren't going to be the things that get them to the next stage. They either decide, hey, we give up and we go home. This isn't our path. We don't have rivers, or we chart a new expedition forward. And that is the moment in Lemhi Pass where they had to make that decision. And that's why we framed and named our business Lemhi, because ultimately we believe the industry is living in a Lemhi moment. We as an industry carried our big, heavy boats. We carried all of our tools that we had. We got maps given to us. You know, we just got out of the cyber era. So we thought, hey, maybe we'll scare our customers into doing something with AI by telling them all the risks around it. And we'll tell them like the data is going to get exfiltrated into some third-party model, which is like this microscopic risk. We tell them, oh, we got to do a secure AI platform. You know, you can't use shadow AI. And all of a sudden, we thought we'd scare our customers into AI. And that backlashed, really. It is the opposite of what you're actually supposed to do when it comes to proper AI adoption. And so those maps we brought and those heavy boats we tore and logged over to the Lemhi Pass have to get dropped, and we have to do something new. And so Lemhi is building that something new. It's that new approach on how to interact with your clients around AI. It's that new approach and that new set of tools, because a boat's not going to help you up a mountain. And so we're arming MSPs with the ammunition, the tooling to begin the next stage of their expedition. Go ahead and supplement it, Ben.
I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. Well, and there's one other angle to it that I really like that I think really resonates. And you know, Lewis and Clark, if you think about their journey being, you know, kind of a great American success story, you know, them ultimately accomplishing what they set out to do, not turning back, all of those types of things. There's some good metaphors in there, but the one I also like is, you know, they set out as a group with, you know, however many 30 or 40 folks, but they continued to pick up people along the way, and they wouldn't have made it without a whole lot of people that they met during that journey, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's some good analogies there for us as MSPs, right? Just not being able to do it alone, relying on each other, relying on other people that are trying to achieve the same goal. And there's a great metaphor for our small businesses that we work with in the context of, hey, we can be those advisors, right, that help them west, to help them achieve those goals. And that journey was definitely not a straight line, to your point, when they reached the pass. And man, there was a heck of a lot of directions that they went, but they listened to the people in their circles. They relied on knowledge and expertise of people that had done it before, or they journeyed together and they found things out together along their way. So that's another angle that I really like to the whole story. Especially if you read about like Sacagawea and some of the other ones that were like so vital to that whole you know, part of history. I think it's a pretty cool parallel.
Yeah, I mean, the name chef's kiss to Tim.
I
like Colin's call out here in the concept of letting go of our canoes. And
like
so
it.
I think we might have to adapt that somewhere in the story. That's a great call out, Colin. And thank you, Colin, as your contribution as well as we came up with the name. I know you worked a little bit with our team to kind of help us, view it from different lenses, and so we appreciate your insight on that too. All right, well, what I spoke was a lot of hyperbole, a lot of storytelling, but it's relevant.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about what we do. Give me the elevator pitch. You're on the spot now, Ben. Go.
Okay. How many seconds do I have?
60 seconds.
Yeah. So ultimately, we want to be the MSP's tool and the solution to be able to solve AI problems inside of their small business clients. So what does that actually mean? That means helping MSP understand how their SMBs are adopting AI at any given time. It means supporting our SMBs in the use cases and the guidance of which key agents or problems that we're going to solve with AI. It also means for us as an MSP, helping us be able to actually sell and package those services as well into something that actually scales, is not bespoke, and is sold as a managed service versus how so many of existing MSPs are doing it right now with project revenue. So I'm not a sales guy, John. I don't know how.
I know. That's why I just figured I'd throw you on the spot. The rest of this conversation has been really comfortable. I have to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. You make me sweat a little bit.
I know. That's all right.
Yeah.
I knew I would. I 10 minutes ago in my head, I said, I'm going to make him do a pitch on the spot. And I think it was a well stated point, right? We're ultimately in the business of helping MSPs be successful with their clients, and we're ultimately in the business of helping them in this next epoch. In this AI era, we as an industry have always prevailed. This is the one thing that I just was kind of surprised. I get it. There's uncertainty out there, but we as an industry kind of got scared, I think, a little bit when AI came around because customers brought it to us. It's the only delta between this epoch and the others. The other ones, we brought it to them. The customers brought it to us. So we're reactive, not proactive. It's okay. We can get back on proactive footing. But I made this statement when I launched and announced it. Like, I truly, deeply believe there is no other service provider in that small, medium business that they have that is there for transformation. And the reason is because ultimately, AI transformation is not a demo and a flash, and here's a tool and goodbye.
Yeah.
AI transformation is iterative, momentum-driven improvement. It's not moonshots. It's not 90-day sprints and in and out. It's momentum driven. And if you are not in that relationship for more than the first 90-day sprint, you're not going to drive that momentum. And so to your point, that observability and that adoption tooling is really critical to know, are they still adopting it or have they plateaued? And what's the next barrier to break? Being able to identify a return on investment and top prioritization of use cases is really critical. I say death to the whiteboard. That's going to be one of my fun little things. I'm probably going to have Tim make us destroy a whiteboard at a conference.
I'm down.
But it's breaking that starting friction. And it's back to your ultimate point of just start. I think here at Lemhi, we have an assumption of what's right, but we're probably still a bit wrong. Let me reframe it this way. We're surely still a little bit wrong. But we've decided to let go of the canoes, and we're beginning to traverse the mountain. And we would love people to join us on that mountain expedition with us. So hence the mountains. All right. I don't like coffee chats being a big old pitch fest. I want to talk about some more learnings again. I want to dig in right now. We're limited selection on Lemhi partnerships. We are not GA for every partner out there in the world to join on and sign up. And that was with intentionality. We don't want to give people canoes to go carve a mountain, right? Like, we still have some mountain climbing to do ourselves as we learn with our partnerships.
Send them down the rapids. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to be able to be defensible when we launch so that our partners are confident in what we've given them. So we're doing exclusive partnerships right now called design partnerships, and we're limiting that cohort, and we're asking people to apply, which is a very different thing than a normal SaaS company would, but we're doing it because we care about the partners and we want to make sure they're successful. So, hey, Bobby, feel free to apply at the end of this. We'd love to see what you guys are dealing with and at least have a conversation. So these design partnerships are intensive. They are not, here's a SaaS tool and adios. It's embedding ourselves in their business and helping them be successful. Yeah. So in the spirit of what we learned when we built the Hive Mind and we did our discovery, what have we learned from our design partners so far? We're more than a month into this process with at least a couple of partners.
Yeah, of course.
What are some of our first aha moments? And I'll share some of mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, one thing I mentioned earlier is that, AI is as much as a technical problem as it is a people problem. I think that's been really reinforced, I think, through those design partnerships. And that is especially true for our teams inside of the MSP, right? Being able to support them just in the context of this is a new thing, and it's not a technology that is like anything else that the MSP is selling, right? So I think that really focusing on, going back to my product brain, ensuring that we're really handling that persona well inside of the product. So being able to support, the verbiage I use a lot that really seems to resonate with folks is like this AI color by numbers kind of type of structure, because I can put anybody in inside of my account management team or inside of my MSP sales team and be able to inform them and have them kind of walk through a structure that gives them all the tools that they need to have informed and valuable conversations with their SMBs about AI. So I think that's a learning. I think it's an enforcement of a learning or enforcement of something that we kind of knew. And then, we're trying to kind of artifact that in our tooling and how we're actually having that conversation. And the other thing I'll mention that I think is maybe a newer trend that I'm noticing is, especially when we talk about our SMB customers, there's not a lot of folks, at least right now, that are willing, that oftentimes are not as willing to admit that they're not far along the AI adoption curve as they actually are.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So when I think about, a professional services firm, like a, accountant, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever, right? Because of this social pressure that I talked about earlier, it seems like so many of them, one of the questions we ask is like, how comfortable are you with AI, 0 out of 10? I think the numbers are skewed a little bit farther higher than reality in a lot of cases, because they feel that social pressure to like, hey, I need to keep up. So there's a reset or a reframing of expectations of where are you actually in your journey and what are the things that you've tried, and then how do we take all of that energy and that time that you put into those things, put it at the right use case, and help you go chase it down, get the outcome, right? The return on investment around AI. So. Those are two. Hopefully, I didn't steal any of yours. I know we've talked about a couple of those from a design partnership perspective, but I'd be curious to hear yours, John. It's a month or so into it.
Yeah, I think you nailed a couple. I think the people thing is what's probably tripping us up as an industry the hardest, because we haven't been great at being partners with our customers. Well, we've been partners. Let me reframe it this way: we haven't been great at helping our partners business. We've been great at helping keep their business afloat, or not afloat, but alight, and supporting the office. But we've never really leaned into helping their business. And that's a new motion, but I think it's where we're headed. I don't think it's an option. You could choose not to today. You could surely probably even get away with choosing not to tomorrow, maybe in the next year. I don't think you get away with it in 2 or 3 years. That's kind of a real aha that I'm having, is like, this isn't an option. It's the new bare minimum stake, or it's the new what am I trying to say here? Stake basics. I don't know. I can't get the word out.
Table stakes.
Table stakes. That's what I'm after. You've worked with me for 15 years. So it's the table stakes. It's not the table stakes today, though. And I'll give MSPs a pass. It's probably not even again the table stakes in 6 to 12 months, but it's the table stakes after that. The other thing that's kind of shocked me and surprised me is when we're going to these clients, there's an expectation that we were already doing this. And this doesn't surprise me.
It's a good one.
But when the MSPs start having the conversation with their client, the clients are looking at them and going like, wait, you weren't doing this, or you're not doing this for me, or you want to charge me more to do something around AI? Like, you already keep my technology afloat. I think this is really an interesting paradigm. If I'm an MSP today, I may not be looking at AI as this big uplift. I may be looking at it as my renewal reason, or I may be looking at it as a contract churn prevention mechanism to lean in and bring AI, not always having to be a revenue creator, but a revenue retainer. Now, on the flip side, the prospecting value of AI right now is through the freaking roof.
Yeah.
I had a great conversation with one of our design partners last night who brought up the point, and it was a good aha. You know these things, but love when you hear it reinforced. He said, when I was growing my MSP 6 or 7 years ago, we'd run dark web scans and we'd bring that to the meeting. We'd, give them all the cybersecurity areas in their space, and they were buying because they were scared they were going to get hacked, or they were scared they were going to get popped. Because think about it, back then, every Forbes News article was another company getting popped. Every Forbes News article now is every AI. So in their head, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to solve for this problem. Well, now, if you're in a prospecting conversation, the dialogue should be AI is table, or IT is table stakes. What are you doing with AI, and how can we help you? And I'm hearing that light up discussions and move funnel quicker than ever. Before we move on, I know, well, Ben, go ahead and comment on that, and I want to pull some prompts.
I was just going to say, like, having a seat at that table and that discussion is really, really important. And, it's an entirely different world when we compare it to something like the security side, right? Where we're trying to, sometimes those are conversations around, risk management and things that are a little bit less tangible in terms of an ROI for our customers. And they don't like having those conversations. Like, it's like pulling teeth. Whereas AI, like, to your point, right? They're seeing it in the news, they're seeing it in their circles. That really helps drive the prospecting side, like you said. So
I want to bring in a couple comments here. Yep, Brett, as always, you bring gold to the show. Welcome to being an active learner. We are in that active learner state. And the way I actually try to empathize it is one of those core memories I had again, and this is more like a decade ago. I remember that you of all people will actually know this story. I remember sitting in the extended space at actually TP when we had expanded in that area. We had the ping pong tables up and the cubicles back there. And I remember pulling up Azure, or it wasn't even Azure bot, it was AWS infrastructure, and looking at it and going, what is this? You and I were on our contact center company at that time.
Yep.
We were literally bringing I had a long table over here. We had PowerEdge 1950s all the way along the wall. And I would take a disk and I would put it in, and I'd install PowerEdge, and I'd, configure it, and then I'd move on to the next 1950. I mean, that's what you did.
So the field guys, they'll put it in the colo, right?
Yeah. Chad, go deliver it out.
Yep.
And I remember looking at these docs, and I remember being in a state of paralysis, almost like, what is this? Like, I know plugging in disks to a 1950. I don't know software defined cloud infrastructure. Like, what is this going to be? And so to Brett's point, like, I share that story because everybody has that story where they were like scared for a minute of like the change.
Yeah.
But we're here. It's 2026. I don't have a wall in 1950s. I've got cloud down. And 2 years ago, I had that same level of apprehension with AI as I started looking at the spec docs and thinking, I don't know what this is. How am I going to do it? And I'm here and I'm using it. So it's just a constant reminder. So bring a few last points. Brett's got to go. I'm sorry. It's good to see you, Brett. I went really far on this. I'm excited to see you. Come see us at PAX 8 Beyond. I hope you're out there, Brett. Last kind of points, Colin, and then I want to pull in Chad's points. Relationship and personal taste will be the base of who MSPs can trust. The two of you know the world well, and they know you well. Well, I appreciate that, Colin. That's a very nice thing. Thank you for jumping in there. And then the last thing I'll say here is I like Chad's point. We landed a new client last week largely on their confidence we can guide them along with AI in their business. It's already become a choice driver. Chad, if you're still on stream, I would love to connect off stream and talk to you about this and just like get your insights and what you're learning. I'm so aligned with you. It's not even funny. But I see a sick little gaming laptop in your picture back there too. So we can talk like gaming. I like the purple fans and the CPUs going on back there. So Chad, let's definitely talk. I agree. It's becoming, I wouldn't say just a choice driver, one of the choice drivers. It starts to trump the table stake combos. It's like, yeah, everybody can do IT, but can they do this? And Bobby as I already said, please reach out. We'll do. Look forward to our conversation. All right, so we've told the story of Lemhi. We've talked a little bit about what you did. You did a wonderful elevator pitch. I think I know you were sweating. We talked about some of the design partnerships. We're at the 40-minute mark. What didn't we talk about that you thought we'd talk about today, Ben?
Oh man.
Everybody gets stumped on this question.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good one. Like I think I think one area that might be interesting for the folks watching is just like the level or the flavors of AI that we're kind of seeing right now.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah,
Around
what are we seeing in the real world? Yeah, I like that.
yeah, I think that one would be good to talk through. Well, especially because, one important trend that I think that we're seeing in the conversations that we're having is that every SMB, regardless of size, they can be at different levels of the adoption curve, right? You have small companies that are like, 10 or 15 people talking about agentic adoption and using Claude Code and that whole side of things. And you have, small business owners that are vibe coding their own apps that run on, a personal laptop, right? So, that's one far end of the spectrum. And then I joke like, there's other people in the world that are slowly getting there, but they don't know how to spell LLM yet. So I think there's a world where, how do we try to meet customers where they are as well here too? And that ties back to the tooling and how do we make sure that we have plans in place to be able to actually support them all along that adoption curve. And then, I say that knowing that in 3 months or in 6 months, there'll be a new thing that we need to go figure out. And to your earlier point, that's why I think we're seeing a lot of structure around how do we make this an ongoing engagement versus something that's, project based or more like bespoke, right? If that makes sense. So I don't know if there's anything you want to double click on there. I think that might be an interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll share like just anecdotally what we're seeing, right? You mentioned the CEO building a piece of software. This is a very interesting thing, and it makes sense. Your C-suite and your leadership team tend to be more risk-taking type personas. They're the ones that are adopting AI, and they're actually doing it in a very novel way because what's interesting about a CEO adopting AI is a CEO knows all the standard operating procedures in their business. Now, those things probably aren't documented, but he knows or she knows every one of those things inside of their business. So he or she's able to go, yada, 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 ding, 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 make me this AI thing, which I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it kind of maybe that's my new catchphrase. But anyway, I don't think this should be my new catchphrase. So they build this like vibe coding thing, and all of a sudden it works, and they are doing all of this work. I've heard anecdotally some terrifying stories, especially around Claude. Like you build this vibe coding thing on Claude, and all of a sudden, this is a real story. One of the CEO's computers crashed, and it was never backed up because Claude's down on the local device.
Yeah.
If you're building vibe coded stuff and you're not doing it correctly. And so the CEO was enraged because they lost this thing, and the MSP was able to recover part of it. But then the CEO was like, I can't get it back to where it was. That's because AI is kind of like a slot machine, unless you know what you're doing.
Really different every time.
And so that was a really terrifying anecdotal story where an MSP CEO not the MSP CEO, but the end client CEO lost this transformation that he had built for his business because he never consulted with the MSP. My piece of advice, and I've been saying it for months, is like, you've all got RMMs. Please open up a ticket to your account manager if you see Claude or DeepSeek or OpenClaw. Or it's just not that hard. Just like, what do you do? Hey, pick up the phone. Hey, Jeff, what you thinking you're going to do with Claude? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Like that should just open in your CRM.
Yeah. And they'll be excited to have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, something cool. They want to be able to
frame it right.
The initial part.
Yeah.
Right? But they're not going to say no when you ask what they're not going to try to hide it, right? I think
exactly. You don't have to wait till the QBR. Give them a ring. Yeah. Like, hey, our RMM detected Claude was installed. We saw some vibe coded stuff start running on localhost. Here's the silly little part. Like every Claude rollout on a vibe code thing opens it up on the same port. Like just because that's like the same port that they always open. So do a net grep or an LS of. If you're not technical, scan the network and see what those open ports are on that device. And if you see those start popping up, that's a conversation. So some really easy technical to-dos that you can line up in your RMM just to open the conversation. That's just one anecdote. The other ones, I mean, I'll say Claude's got an insane ground game right now. They are just absolutely crushing it in SMB. So you need to be competent in the communications around Claude. If you're pushing Copilot, I think that you are probably, my opinion is Copilot's the ultimate winner. But right now, Claude is the disruptor. And so you need to be able to talk both. I think ChatGPT is in the mix, but those were companies that adopted it maybe a year or two ago when they had the lead. Well, anything to add before I jump us into the closing segments? I know we're getting low on time here.
No, I think that's a good start.
All right. Well, look, we are getting down to the last. I'm curious now. You probably never watched a show this far in.
It's usually on in the background.
I know, but the very end of it's the espresso shots.
Okay.
The espresso shots are rapid questions. Here's the rules, very simple.
Right.
You have as much time as you want to think about it, but you only are allowed to answer in one sentence or less.
Okay.
Which is impossible for me. I think you're going to be better.
All right. Hot takes, 1 sentence or less. Got it.
Hot takes, 1 second or less. Or 1 second or less. 1 sentence or less. What part of this have we still not figured out?
How to scale it across every type of customer.
That's a great point. Where do you think that MSPs are at the most risk of being wrong right now?
Oh man, that's a good one. I would say ignoring it, if that makes sense.
No, it's good. No, you got semicolon. No, you're good.
Ignoring it. That's 2 words. How's that?
I know you started semicolon on me there. All right. What's a bet that Lemhi is making that not everyone on the outside would agree with?
I think that Copilot is going to win this game. I think that's absolutely one of them. You already mentioned that, and I'm with you on that. So
mine was going to be that it's a new managed service layer.
That's a good one.
Let's go into the next area. If you're running an MSP today, what would you do in the next 30 days?
Start having client conversations about AI. Full stop. You're not going to grow if you don't get the at-bats.
We're going to flip it around. What would you stop doing in the next 30 days?
Probably hear this a lot. Saying no and wrist slapping when the customer starts to use AI. Right, there's a different kind of conversation to have.
I like that. What's the simplest way to start monetizing AI without overcomplicating it?
Selling Copilot licenses.
Yeah, I suppose that's
the simplest way. Not transformative by any means, right?
Hate that answer, but you're not wrong.
That might be a question problem.
It's a question problem.
Yeah.
What is Lemhi not?
Oh man, that's a good one. What is Lemhi not? I think we get this comparison sometimes. We're not a chat GPT wrapper, right? Or a Claude wrapper. And not just a tool. How about that? That's a better one.
I like that one. I was going to say we're not sexy. We're not whiz bang demo cool flish flash. We're boring operator managed practice stuff.
Yeah. We'll get
especially no, we will. I love the boring. Don't get me wrong. I actually say that as a compliment.
Yeah. There's no silver bullet, man. It's like you got to do the hard stuff too.
What are people over rotating on when it comes to AI in the industry?
Right now, probably agents, right?
I'm with you.
Who are like, got to get the rest of our teams to catch up.
Yeah, lay the foundation before you build the next layer.
Exactly.
I agree with you. We're getting close, Ben. I know it's the hot seat at the very end here. What pattern? What pattern, if it continues, would make you really confident that we're on the right track?
The speed at which AI is developing, the technology is developing. You can always do something new.
What signal are you watching that you don't think most people are paying attention to?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm looking at the AI providers that are not the ChatGPTs and the Claudes of the world, if that makes sense.
Yep.
The people that have the data is maybe a better way to put that.
Exactly.
I broke my sentence rule there, but
that's okay. I like it. we got 3 more questions. I promise. We're getting out of the hot seat really, really soon. These are easier. What's been the most fun part so far?
Oh man, just getting the band back together. I think
It's pretty dang fun.
yeah, it's a good time. And obviously we have some new folks on the team like Tim. There's been absolutely awesome ads and great people to work with, and very much aligned with our culture and I think how our team works.
This is so rounded out.
Yep.
Why does this feel different? Or sorry, yeah, that's kind of perfect segue. Why does this feel different than Saslio?
Building in the age of AI makes everything different, I think is probably the way I'd put it. Yeah.
Last two questions. Fast forward 12 months. What has to be true?
What has to be true for something to happen, or just in general? What has to be true? MSPs have to be having the AI conversation with their customers.
Very, very Confucius level question.
Yeah.
All right. Your last one and you're on the hot seat, but this one feels like a low hanging fruit. What would success actually look like in 12 months? Not in metrics, but in reality.
Success in 12 months. Yeah, for me, I mean, if I can get enough people in this space talking about AI to their customers, that is a win for me, regardless of the tool, regardless of everything behind it.
I'm gonna pull it one layer forward. I want them not talking. I want them winning.
Yep, I like that.
But I know you're. This is where you and I are different. I look at the outcome and you look at the inputs. This is why we work together
how we get there
very well. All right, man. Well, look, this has been fun as always. Tried to keep it not too Lemhi pitchy, but I think we got a lot of education for the people listening. But at the end of every show, I always give the other person on the other side the opportunity to do a shameless plug for giving me an hour this morning. So, Ben, take it away. The shameless plug, and we're off the shameless
plug. Yeah, check us out, lemhi.com. If you're having conversations about AI with your customers, we'd love to hear from you. Check us out at PAX 8, PAX 8 Beyond here next week. If you're at PAX 8, we'll leave it there.